take situation for Cavalier hitters until Holly proves she can be consistent. Instead, it's slapped through the infield for a single. One run will score with nobody out there. Going to hold the runner at third. Why?
After game 2, Shelly's going to come up here with a player to get a new by tie. So we'll just need to take that, and Gray will go over with you before she leaves. How to do the camera.
1-2 pitch off speed, turns on it and drives it down the line. This will go all the way into the corner and more than likely clear the bases. They're motioning all 3 runners home. A stop at second for Byron, a 3 RBI double. Down low for another ball, 2-0. So Cook is at third, Basuyan is at second with Lagerquist up.
When did she come in again, Todd?
Base hit, and 2 runs will score. The throw back to first gets away.
Yep.
So it's a single and 2 RBIs. And just want to double check. Yes, that is the first hit for Kayla Lagerquist. Up and away, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Remind me once we start another history tour.
Steen swung over well into right center field here against the left-handed hitter. Off the end of the bat on a hop to O'Neill. Yeah. And that'll do it. As the Cavaliers will win this one with the 8-run rule closing out. And we welcome you back to the press box at Hilton Stadium and the Cavalier Softball Classic as the Cavaliers concluding play with a victory over Northwest in Game 1 today and then a loss here to Eastern Oregon in a nightcap. Sammy Byron good enough to join us as Coach Shelley Whitaker out racing about having to run a tournament, and she's here too, so she'll be with us in just a second. Glad she could get here. Sammy, talk a little bit about the day, though. It's got to be tough for a squad to be up in a huge inning in one case, and then you get shut down on some nice pitching by an opposing pitcher in the nightcap.
Yeah, it was tough coming out, but we just had to keep going and keep our heads up and just focus on the little things. That was most important, just go back to the basic mechanics.
Pretty impressive rally in the first game, though, and a situation where some teams might have said, well, so much for this game, and you're down 5. And I don't think I've ever seen a team bat around twice in the same inning, a 14-run inning against Northwest. That was an incredible inning.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. To go through the lineup twice is pretty impressive, but we know that any team can come back, so we have to keep pushing the runs and just keep it going and never settle.
Now, I came up with a really good idea for you and for Coach during the second game. Because since you and Mackenzie can both pitch and play first, I think what we need to do is we'll just keep shuttling you 2 guys back and forth based on left-hand hitters, right-hand hitters. You know, we'll just make a big. No, I'm kidding. Got to be fun to have that versatility. Is there a spot that's your favorite? Do you like one position, one place more than another?
Not really. Pitcher's always great because you have the kind of pressure on you at all times, so that's nice. But sometimes it kind of gets overwhelming. But first base is awesome, and then hitting, it's just fun to be in the game at all times.
As long as you're playing, that's what really matters, right? Yeah, I kind of figured
just to be out here.
Yep. I think fair to say this has to be one of the more unusual, eventful, crazy days. I mean, to have your first game interrupted with an unusual situation and one that required some help from law enforcement and fire and so on, to have the game delayed like that for an hour. But your team showed remarkable resiliency in that game, not only facing that delay, but to come back from a 5-run deficit, as we said, with a 14-run inning.
Yeah, I thought that they did a great job. I mean, that little pause for a halftime show there took about 45 minutes, but they did a good job of regrouping, refocusing, and, you know, when you're down that many runs, you don't expect the team to bounce back and get 14 in the bottom half of that inning. But I thought we did a nice job in staying focused and doing what we had to at the plate. I mean, at that point, we're swinging for singles is what we called, and just trying to string some hits together. They did their part, and luckily both teams were able to get back out here safely and complete the game.
As great as the offensive output turned out in Game 1, it had to be frustrating in game 2. Just could not get the bats on track.
Yeah, you know, I actually think our last couple games here, our hitting is slid back a little bit. We have to go back to mechanics. Right now, I think we had a lot of success early in the season when season started, and we're swinging the bats, came out hot, and for some reason we've just kind of lacked off those. So we're going to hit the cages and go back to mechanics here in practice starting on Tuesday.
What lies underneath a change like that? I mean, can you put a finger on anything in particular? I mean, mechanics, yes, understood there, but anything else that you observed?
Yeah, you know, I noticed in LA and then working into these games here in last Saturday is that when we face pitchers who have it throwing a lot of off-speed stuff, it makes us guess. And when we guess, our mechanics are thrown off a little bit. So that's the area we got to quit guessing and start swinging and just trusting our swing. I mean, 98% of this game is between our ears on the confident side of things. So I see that kind of sliding back. And so that's where we have to quit the guessing game and just go out there and do what we do, which is swing the bat.
Kind of a case of getting out on the front foot and almost wanted to reset
100%.
During the delivery, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. On the road to open conference season next weekend, Simon Fraser, Western Washington. Talk a little bit about those contests.
Yeah, both. I mean, those are huge contests for us. Simon Fraser, we finished up with last year and had some success with, but right now I think they're at 3-0 and seem to be well on their way to the start of their season. So, you know, I just had a talk after these games with the team about this is a turning point for us. We have to decide. I think honestly we can compete for the 4 or 5 spot within conference. I know we're picked much lower by the coaches, but you know, I have all the confidence in my team that we can go out there and do what we need to do over the course of the next 5 weeks to kind of fill those spots. But it'll be a good test for us to see how mentally we bounce back and compete with them. And then Western's a great program up there. You know, they play really tough on their home field. So once again, you know, if we can walk away with 2 out of those 4 games, I think that's exactly what we're looking for.
And you mentioned while you work on mechanics hitting, what you'll have to do during the week for pitching as well, because obviously some inconsistencies between games for your pitchers there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, pitching was an area that I had a question mark coming into this year with the losses and injuries and whatnot that we had within the circle there with 3 new pitchers in essence. And I know Mac was along last year, but she didn't get the innings that she's getting this year. So we're going to work in ironing those out. You know, there's still some questions too behind the plate. Who works best with who on the catching side of things?
Yeah.
What combo works there? Are we always going to platoon a pitcher-catcher combo game by game? But, you know, being more consistent within all of our catchers and our pitch calling, that's an area too that I threw off on the catchers this year. Last year we called it from the dugout. This year the expectation is we call it from behind the plate. So really giving a lot of accountability for the catchers and responsibility in reading the hitters and knowing the scouting reports on who hits and where on the field and allowing them that flexibility to call the game.
Well, we'll wish you good luck on the road and then back here in 2 weeks, Central Washington, to start that weekend to play. And hopefully the conditions, both weather and otherwise, will be a little bit more favorable for the squad.
If you can part those skies and bring some sun in here, I greatly appreciate that.
I think all of us would. Thank you for the time. We will see you in a couple weeks. And Shelley Whitaker joining us here at Hilkins.